Good morning. We don't have much longer to go in this school year, so I want to encourage you to stay strong and be responsible students. Let's look at today's lesson. I really think the dividing by 12 and multiplying by 12, the 12 family can actually be the easiest ones. If you have memorized all the rest of your fact families, then 12 is the last one in each one. For some reason, it's easy to remember the first and last of everything. So this is basically the answers of each table times 12. So if you're going through all your ones, it ends in 12. All the twos end in 24. The threes end in 36. The four is 48. 5 is 60. So this is the 1, 12, 2 12s, 3 12s, 4 12s, 5 12, all the way to 12 12s. Okay, so the dividing by 12, which we've already done the multiplying by 12, but the dividing by 12 is the undoing of the multiplying. So let's look at this one, for example. 5 times 12 equals 60. Well, 60 divided by 12 equals 5. We can actually go backwards and undo it and say 5 times 12 equals 60, like that. Let's look at this one. 10 times 12, you know, when we multiply 10 times any number, we just stick a 0 right on the end there. So 10 times 12 is 120. So we can know that 120 divided by 12 is 10. We want to check that back. Just say 10 times 12 is 120. We just start with the answers, or the product, and then we divide. And what would have been factor product, we start with, which would have been the product, and we just undo it. Okay, so the thing is, I want you to really do this summer is work on your multiplication tables. And it doesn't necessarily need to be where you're copying them every day, but just even if you click on the link of the games that I put at the end of the last slides, you can go there and play different learning games through the summer. But I really want to impress on you to work with your multiplication and division tables, because when you get to 4th grade, it's going to go fast and you need to know them. I know I used to teach 4th grade, and you need to know them. Don't just let your brain get kind of lazy all summer. Even if you just go and play those games, multiplication and division, actually you could probably do some addition, subtraction. I meant to say multiplication and division, but you can work on addition and subtraction as well. That wouldn't hurt us, especially when we get in those teen numbers. Okay, Mr. Whiting, would you go ahead and click on my board for me, please? Mr. Whiting's helping me out today. So what are we doing? We are using 12 as a divisor. Let's look at the top of your page. All together we have 24 eggs, and you can get eggs in different size cartons, but the average way to purchase eggs is in containers of 12, and remember, 1 dozen things equals 12 things. So your mom may ask your dad, would you stop at the store and get a dozen eggs? And this is how it's going to come in. But let's say you worked at the egg factory. My sister and 2 of her kids used to work at an egg factory. They would boil them and make eggs for salads and do all kinds of things with those eggs. But when you are putting them in a container like that, they put them on a conveyor belt. It goes through a washing system, and then the eggs get put into these containers. These are dozen containers. So if we have 12 eggs rolling around and we need to know, oh, I need some containers, and they say, how many containers do you need? That's where you divide by 12. Well, I have 24 eggs, so how many containers do I need if each container will hold 12 eggs? And we say 24 divided by 12 is 2. Now, if you look right here, we're going to fill in these quickly. Write the missing terms. They're really kind in our textbook the first time we do the divided by 12 and any of the other division and multiplication. They'll put it in order going across. This is A, B, C. So if I have 0 eggs, I'm not going to need any containers because I don't have any eggs. Anytime you have 0, it means none or empty. So if I have no eggs, how many containers do I need? I'm not going to need any, right? Because I don't have any eggs. If I have 12 eggs and I know each container will hold 12 eggs, then that's 12 divided by 12 is 1. And this is the same thing right here. I have 24 eggs, and if each container holds 12, I know I'm going to need 2 containers. And then you're going to go on seeing this pattern, you're probably going to know right away that this is 3. Now to check it, let's go backwards. 3 times 12 is 36. And this one is going to be 4 because you know 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm sure you've already noticed that pattern. But in your mind, go ahead and think back, okay, 12 times 4. And if you don't have the 12s memorized, the cool thing about the 12s is you can stack it like this. 4 times 2 is 8, and 4 times 1 is 4. Of course, the best way to work with them is to have them memorized, so you don't have to do this like this every time. But when it's new and you're just learning, of course, it's very fine to have those little shortcuts that help you. Okay, now, Mr. Whiting, would you scroll this up a little bit so number 2 is a little bit higher for me, please, so I can reach it better? Thank you. This was on the math test for this week, and if you haven't taken it yet, that's fine. I will caution you, don't wait till Sunday to take all of your tests, especially when we have those review games in there and we have a review lesson. You want to take it when it's fresh on your mind. But let's go ahead and work with this multiplying with 2 digits in our factors. So first we're going to multiply the ones place. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 7 is 14. Carry the 1. Since there's no thousands there, you're going to go ahead and put that here. You don't even need to put a carry mark. Now remember, we already used the ones place. Now this counts as a tens place because that's actually 73 times 40. But we're going to go ahead and just put that 0 right there because we can, just like when we multiply anything times 10, we add the 0 to the end. We're going to do the same thing here. So go ahead and put your 0 here because you've already multiplied times the ones place. 4 times 3 is 12. Carry the 1 with the 2 in the tens place. 4 times 7 is 28. Plus the 1 is 29. Now you're going to add these. Remember, these are called partial products. If we're only multiplying like 5 times 4, that's factor, and then 20 would be the product. But since we have 2 different products, it's called partial product. So factor, partial product, and then when we add it together, we're going to get our product. So 6 plus 0 is 6, and 4 plus 2 is 6. 1 plus 9 is 10. Carry the 1. 1 plus 2 is 3, and put your comma in. Put that comma. 3,066. Got it? All right. Now I want you to go ahead and work this one. Pause the video, and then we're going to do it together. Okay, here we go. 4 times 5 is 20. I'll just put that plus 2 because you know you're going to go ahead and add that. 6 times 4 is 24, plus 2 is 26. Now we're done with that. I like to just cross that out to help me remember I'm done with the ones place. So now I'm multiplying in the tens place, so that would be the same as 65 times 30. So I'm going to go ahead and put my 0 there. And I'm going to cross out this 2 because the 2 was for the ones place, just in case I carry here, which I'm going to. 3 times 5 is 15. Carry the 1, put the 5 under. 3 times 6 is 18, plus 1 is 19. Now, it's very important that you cross out this first one, or you can erase it, but it saves on your eraser and it saves time if you just cross it out. Then you're going to add your 2 partial products together. 0 plus 0 is 0, and 6 plus 5 is 11. I'm going to see 1 and 9 is 10, plus 2 is 12. Carry the 1, 1 and 1 is 2. Put your comma in, 2,210. Try this one on your own, and then in tomorrow's slides, you'll have the answer key to this, and make sure you check it. Okay, we're going to go over here and do this one. Go ahead and pause the video and work that problem. Okay, let's see if you got it right. Let's go ahead and write down our steps. Divide, multiply, subtract, compare, and bring down. We're going to start dividing. Can 7 go into 2? It can't. And if you're first starting, you don't need to start with the 0 because you know that 0, 5 equals 5, right? And 0, 4 is the same as 4. So when you first when you're dividing into the first digit, the left space, you shouldn't leave a 0 there. Just go ahead and go to 20. So how many times will 7 go into 20 without going over? Well, I found that in my class, for some reason, almost everybody knows that 7 times 3 is 21. That's, for some reason, that's an easy one from the get. But 21 is too much. So we're going to back off 1 and go 7 times 2. 7 goes into, we're dividing in 2 times, so 2 times 7 is 14, write that. Subtract. Be careful that you don't say 0 minus 4 is 4. Say, I have 0, I can't subtract, so I'm going to borrow. 10 minus 4 is 6, and 1 minus 1 is nothing. Again, it's not necessary to pull that 0 down, but you can, it won't hurt anything. Now, compare. Is 6 less than 7? Sure, it sure is. Let's go ahead and pull down, since we just compared. Bring that 3 down. Now, I'm going to erase that. It just bothers me to see it there. How many times will 7 go into 63? Well, it almost would have gone 10 times, but because it's a 6, it's not. Remember what I said about the 9s? 6 plus 3 is the same as 9. And if you remember right, that would be 9 times. And actually, 9 times 7 is exactly 63. So let's subtract. There's none left over. Now here's where this gets tricky. Compare. Is 0 less than 7? Yes. But now you have to pull down this 0. And you have to divide 7 into 0. You have to say, how many times will 7 go into 0? And you can't say it won't go, but you actually say 0 because you must divide this in the number you bring down. It won't go at all, which not going at all means 0. There's a big difference between 29 and 290. So you have to have that 0. That 0 there is very important. Anytime you bring down, you must divide. So let's multiply 0 times 7 is 0. And there's none left over. Now, we're going to check it like we always do. And 0 times 7 is 0. 7 times 9 is 63. 7 times 2 is 14. 14 plus 6 is 20. And here we go. That's the same. Good job. On these here, I'm going to let you do those on your own. This one, I'm just going to say, watch the sign. It says subtract. So the denominators are the same, so you can go ahead and subtract there. Here, the main thing I'm going to tell you is make sure you use a decimal point for your cents and dollar sign. And on this one, be mindful of the 0. So let's go ahead and work that one. Go ahead and work it and pause the video, and then we'll check that one. Okay, I trust that you worked that. So 9 times 8 is 72. 9 times 0 is 0. Now, what's 0 plus 7? Make sure you put a 7 there. And 9 times 7 is 63. 9 times 5 is 45. 45 plus 6 is 51. Put your comma, 1, 2, 3. 51,372. Okay. All right, Mr. Whiting, will you scroll to the next page, please? Bring it up a little bit higher. There you go, that's perfect. All right. I want you to work the story problems by yourself and then turn the video back on. Okay, here we go. I trust that you did work it by yourself or attempted it, and let's see if you got them right. If Dad bought 8 feet of fence, how many inches did he buy? So we need to say 8 feet equals blank inches. So they want to know how many inches, right? So we're going to change it into inches. So we have to put a line here. So we're going to say 8 feet is the same as how many inches. And then we're also going to go ahead and do that like this, like we did when we first started drawing that line and not knowing why we were doing it. Let's go ahead and box what's different. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're going from feet to inches. So we have to say, okay, put your hands, remember we did that poem, inch, foot, yard. Okay, let's go to foot. Foot's right here. We're going to inch. So we're going to greater to smaller. So what are we going to do? Greater to smaller, multiply. So we're going to multiply. How many of the smaller units does it take to reach the larger one? So how many inches is in a foot? Hopefully that you got that right and said 12. Our special number here is 12. So now what we're going to do is we're going to say 8 times 12 equals. Now, I hope that you remember what 8 times 12 is. It's kind of new, but if you forgot what it was, you could actually stack it and say 8 times 2 is 16, and 8 times 1 is 8 plus 1 is 96. You could actually stack that to even to check it. If you say, I think it's 86, or I think it's 84, I think it's 96, and you're not quite sure what it is, go ahead and stack it like this and multiply it like that to make sure. So it's 96. So we're going to go ahead and write 96 in the box. Maybe you didn't set it up quite like that. Maybe you just did this part, and that's okay. My answer key does have it like this. The reason why we go ahead and make it long like that is because sometimes we have to say plus something equals. So the answer is 96 what? Inches. You have to make sure you put your label there. Okay, now here we have the averaging. Once I learned how to average in school, I was always trying to keep up with my grades. The only thing I didn't realize is some grades have a higher weight, which that's another lesson altogether. But let's go ahead and see what her grades are for her spelling test average. Average grades in spelling are 99, 100, and what you can do after you write those numbers down, you can put a little check, 99, okay, got that one, 100, okay, 98, okay, 94, all right, 100 again, and 97. Let's count to make sure you have the same here so that you didn't leave out any number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, add these together. So here we have 9 and 8 is 17. 17 plus 1 is 21. 21 plus 7 is 28. Right here we have a 2, and I see 2 9s. I know that already is going to be 20 because 1 plus 9 is 10, and I have let's just say 2 plus 9 is 11, plus 9 is 20, plus another 9. Or let's do this. Let's count this, watch, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 9s, so 4 times 9 is, what's 4 times 9? 36, add 2 to it, so 38. And then if you're not sure if that's right, you want to go back and just add them one at a time, you can. 9, 10, 11, plus 9 is 20, plus 9 is 21, plus, wait a minute, what I do here. 11 plus 9 is 20, 29, and 9 is 38, yeah. Now, let's add here. 3, 4, 5. So we have 588. And we're going to divide it by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How many times will 6 go into 58? It won't go into 5, so you're going to go 58. That's going to be 9. 9 times 6 is 54. Subtract. Compare. Is 4 less than 6? Yes, it is. Bring down the 8. How many times will 6 go into 48? And that happens to be 8, and it will exactly match it. 8 times 6 is 48, and you have none left over. So here is the grade. Her average is a 98, which is actually, we're going to go ahead and just put that, it's an A+. 98 is a high grade. Good. I hope you got that right. Let's do a couple of these estimating. If you want to try it without getting help, pause the video. And while you're pausing, I'm going to erase this. Then Mr. White, you can scroll that up for me a little bit more. won't go up anymore. Okay, that's fine. All right, here we go. Round the numbers. Okay, so if it tells us to round and there's a 2-digit number, we're going to round it to the nearest 10. So let's go ahead and round this one to the nearest 10. So remember, if it's 5 or higher, it goes to the next 10. If it's 4 or less, it drops down to the 10 it was and just turns into a 0. So 6 is definitely higher. So 16 rounds to 20. 81, 1 is lower, so we're going to change that into a 0 and slide back down that hill and make it 80. Now, what is 20 plus 80? 2 plus 8 is 10, so 20 plus 80 is 100. Let's look at this one. These have the hundreds. So here, if they have hundreds and it says round, you're not going to round the ones that are 0, you're going to round the next one. So here we're actually rounding to the nearest 100. So in the same manner, that has a 7, so that's going to round up to the next 100. So when we're rounding to the next 100, if it's 150 or higher, if there's a 5 or higher in the tens place, let's just say 50 or higher, it goes to the next 100. If it's 49 or less, it goes down. So here we have a 7, so that's going to round up to the next 100. So it's going to be 200 because 150, I'm going to go ahead and put 100 because it actually is 150 since it's rounded to the nearest 100. That way we know. Or if it was like 750, anyway, it's going to bring another 100. The 5 is the key. Here, let's check the tens place here. It's a 2, so does 2 go up to the next or down? Okay, 2 goes down, so we're going to drop that 2 and make it 300. So we know that 2 plus 3 is 5. Since we know that 2 plus 3 is 5, then we know that 200 plus 300 is 500. Okay, the same on this side. I'm going to let you do that one on your own. 7, reduce to lowest terms. Remember, you're going to see what you're dividing. You're looking for your greatest common factor. Here, 3 won't go into 4 evenly. You have to have the same one. So this one, when they're both even, you can always try 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. Let's look at this one over here. What goes into both of these? Well, 3 goes into both of these, so 3 is a factor of 9. So we have 3 and 9 and 1, which we're not going to divide by 1. And this one, 27, would be 1, 3, and 9. So which is the greatest, right? Let's divide by 9. 27 divided by 9 is 3. 9 divided by 9 is 1. A lot of times you can try the top number and see if this one can be divided into, if your numerator can be divided into your denominator, you can use that one. Like here, we're going to use the 2. This one we couldn't though, because 6 divided by 4 doesn't happen evenly, so you had to back up and use a 2. But this one, you can divide both of them by 3, okay? On here, let me just remind you about this one. We're going to, when it says 1/3 of, let's just do this one. You're actually going to say 29 divided by 3. And some of these you can do in your head. 3 will go into 29, right here, 9 times. So 3 times 9 is 27, and there's 2 left over. So we're going to write the remainder as a fraction. So we're going to say 9 and 2/3. When you're dividing by a fraction and you have a remainder, it always is written as a fraction. Okay, go ahead and finish that up. Do this brain booster on your own. And remember, please check your work on the following day. Sometimes I get pictures of your work and I like to look at it, but your pencil's light and it's hard for me to see very well to know if you're getting it right. So always check over your work. Sometimes on Fridays we put the answer key on that day, and just check your work so you can see where your mistakes are. All right, have a good day and be a responsible student.